Okay, picking back up here with number 11. This looks like a doozy of a problem, and it's still the same directions from 7, 8, 9, and 10, which means find the slope. And that's what you should already be thinking. Remember, whenever we're given these 2 points up here, the alarm needs to go off in your head that you can at least find the slope in those, okay? From your formula sheet, we know that slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I know I'm going to have to label these points. Remember, a point is always an x value and then a y value. So I'm going to name these x1 and y1, making these x2 and y2. Now, you can do this by hand if you want, but I see these numbers are kind of big and there's a lot of negatives flying around. So I would pop over here in my calculator, all right? I clear out whatever somebody left for me, and I want to bring up a fraction bar, alpha, y equals, enter. Well, I want y2, which is -9, always minus y1, which was 11, typing it in just the way it comes. Then I need x2, which is a 12, minus an x1. It's always minus in the middle, and then that x1 is a -8, okay? I press enter, and I let it spit out my answer for me, and it says -1. Well, that seems like an awful simple answer, but looky there, -1, okay? Number 12 is a little bit more to do. I see this, and this is in standard form right now, and it wants the slope. I cannot tell the slope from standard form. I can't. Don't try to do it. Don't guess at it. Whenever I'm given something in standard form and I need the slope, I'm looking to put it into slope-intercept form. So this would be my goal, is to get it in slope-intercept form. Why slope-intercept? Because it's got it in the name. Slope. It'll tell us the slope if we can just get it into that format. So I take my original equation of x plus 3y equals 0, and I'm trying to get it into this format of slope-intercept form. So I want y by itself. That's the key piece. I subtract x from each side. And this is something that still trips a lot of people up, and you need to start getting used to it. 0 minus x. A lot of people look at that and go, oh, well, it's just 0. No, think of it. It would be 0 minus x. Well, we know we can just drop that 0, so we just still have -x over there. And that's what it is. We have -x, and that's all we've got. If you want to write a +0 or something out there, that's fine, but most of the time you're not going to see it. Okay? Final step, we got to divide each side by 3. And this is something I showed yesterday also, and a lot of people look at this right-hand side and say, well, it's -x over 3, I'm done. And then they look and say, oh, but my slopes, that answer's not up there, okay? Well, you have to remember, in front of this x is actually a little 1. So this is a -1x, okay? That means if I wanted to, I could write my slope as a fraction of -1/3, and I can toss the x out to the side. Now I have my slope. I'll circle it in red again. There's my slope, because now I have it in this format, okay? So my answer is C. On to number 12, or on to number 13, sorry. Write the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line. Great, it tells us exactly what we want. We want the slope and we want the intercept. And remember, do not forget, intercept is specific. It means actually the y-intercept. That's just probably too long of a title to call it slope y-intercept form. So they just call it slope-intercept, but it wants that y-intercept, okay? I'm looking for where this diagonal line crosses my y-axis, and I see that, oh, it crosses it right there at 0, 0. It crosses at what we like to say is the origin. So if I was writing my equation, y equals mx plus b, and don't forget, that's on your formula sheet, I want my slope and my y-intercept. I found one of them already at 0, so we still have to find out what slope is, but we found out this is +0, because that's what my y-intercept is. Now to find the slope, I just have to pick another point on the graph that is at a vertex, and I need to count. Well, this very next point down here is at a vertex, so if I wanted to find the slope, I'm looking for rise over run. I'm looking, what did I rise? Well, I went down 1. Down 1 means -1. Then I went to the right 1. Well, right 1 is a positive 1. -1 over 1, that just equals -1. So I have -1 as my slope. All right? But then I look and I say, well, my answer's not there. All it is another little cleanup process. Like I said on the last one, most of the time you won't see this +0 written. Also, people don't write this actual number 1. They know that's what's called an understood 1. If you don't write it, it is understood to be there. So there's my answer. coincides with answer C. 14 is an easy problem. Softball problem, as I was calling it yesterday. You should knock this one out of the park, okay? Is the following a function? Well, we want to know, does it pass the vertical line test? What that means is if I draw vertical lines through my graph, does it hit it only once? If it hits it only once, then it is indeed a function. So I look, I say, okay, what if I want to draw a vertical line right there? I see it, yep, hits it one time and one time only. How about if I want to draw one through right there? Yep, hits it one time and one time only. Do not get confused. Remember, these two arrows mean this goes up forever and it also goes out forever. So you could say, oh, but what if I draw a line there, it doesn't hit it at all? Well, think, this graph would eventually get up to that point, okay? And therefore, it would hit it. Don't overthink these. If you can draw vertical lines through it and it only hits it once, it is a function. So is this a function? Yes. It will most likely be a multiple choice problem, just like the benchmark from yesterday, the benchmark review from yesterday, from Wednesday, okay? 15, sorry, these are a little bit smaller. It was hard to fit these on the page. It says sketch the graph of each line. Well, it gives us this equation, and this is standard form, and we cannot sketch a graph from standard form. The easiest way to sketch a graph, I'm gonna put it up here in the corner as a reminder, the easiest way to sketch a graph is from slope-intercept form, okay? So this is probably our goal for this problem. Well, they gave it to us in standard form, so we got to work with it a little bit. 8x minus 5y equals 25. Lots of ways to get this problem, okay? I look and just say, okay, I want the y by itself. Let's start moving the other stuff away from it. Subtract 8x from both sides. Those are going to cancel on the left, which is good because we're trying to get y by itself. So we get negative 5y. I'm going to go ahead and write this negative 8x first, okay? Because that's how it comes in my final goal. And then I have plus 25 because this was a positive 25. Final step, I got to divide everything by negative 5, divide by negative 5, divide by negative 5. Cancel. Y equals, guys, this is a weird fraction. Leave it a fraction, okay? It's a positive because it's negative and negative, 8/5 x, and then minus 5. We're okay with fractions for slope because that's how we do rise over run. Now, this is a classic example of a problem that if you just pick apart your answer, you're going to be better off than if you actually try to graph it by hand or anything. I'm looking for an x or a y-intercept of negative 5. Well, A is still in the running. That's pretty good. B's not. This one goes through a positive 5. That's not what we want. C's got this negative 5 as its intercept, so we're good. It's still in the running. And D is also out. Because look, as much as it was, I probably wrote through it too quickly, that's at a negative 3. We don't care anything about negative 3. So those two are out of the running. Okay? Next, we're looking for something with a slope of 8/5. Well, immediately in my brain, I start thinking, but that's positive. So we got to have an increasing graph. By that theory, we can get rid of A and leave us with C. Just to check it, you can also count and make sure it goes up 8/5. But that's hard to do because we're at negative 5. So if I go up 8, I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm right here in between these lines again. Okay, and if I want to go right 5, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it should be right in the middle of this box, and it is.